a lot of sports to talk about. Over the course of the last several months, I've talked about table tennis betting. I've talked about sumo wrestling. I did bet on Tiger versus Phil. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But now the NHL said that they will, at some point, resume, not the regular season. The regular season is over. It's officially done. But they will have the playoffs. Now, exactly what that will look like, will there be any fans allowed in? Don't know. But they're saying by the earliest, we could see NHL playoff hockey within a few months. So that's good news, certainly if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, because the Knights are in the playoffs. A lot of the teams that were just outside of the playoffs are getting screwed because their season is over. But Commissioner Gary Bettman recently made an announcement during a televised news conference revealing the league's return to play plan. And with that return to play plan, it appears as though Las Vegas is the ideal setup with all these hotels possibly to have many, maybe all of these playoff games in Las Vegas. I don't know how they would do that, but certainly it is a possibility. So that's the good news. And what they're saying is eventually players within the next few weeks are going to be able to voluntarily go back to practice in small groups. They're going to be doing it in stages, which I think is the responsible thing to do. But the good news is that the season is over, but the playoffs are not over, and that's a completely new season. Here's something interesting, though, with the Vegas Golden Knights that I wanted to bring up. This is what's interesting about these guys, and that is this. You know, they've donated a lot of money to help Las Vegas during this coronavirus tragedy. I mean, players have donated money. The organization has donated seven figures. But now the Golden Knights are no longer allowing season ticket holders to defer payments for the 2020-21 season. As you know, during this coronavirus pandemic, they have deferred some of these payments for several months, and now they're saying you can't do that anymore. The team officially sent out an email earlier in the week notifying season ticket holders that their next payment will be processed today. Season ticket holders were given the option of delaying their payments in March and April, as I mentioned, due to the pandemic, but that is no longer the case. You know, I struggle with this a little bit because I appreciate the fact of what the Vegas Golden Knights did for this community on the October 1 shooting. I appreciate the fact that the players and members of the organization have really stepped to the plate in donating money to help people during this pandemic, particularly those that are out of work. They've done some good things. But this is weird to me. This is strange to me. Be consistent with it. Why now are you forcing people to pay for the 2020-21 season? Shouldn't you wait at least another couple months? Wait until the playoff season is over? I have a serious problem with this. I don't like it. I think, listen, I'm not taking anything away from the good things they've done. And listen, I have some issues with this organization, with the way they treat the media. I've been outspoken about that. And I will continue to be outspoken about that until I think they treat the media right. I'm not just talking about us. I'm talking about other members of the media. And they,
but mostly us.
No, I'm not just talking about us.
They kicked out the media out of their practice that one time.
Yeah, I remember that. And listen, I have friends in the media in this town that are TV people. I have people that have all been very consistent with me and said sometimes it is very difficult to get players and coaches for doing interviews and stuff like that. And anyway, I don't want to really go down that road, but let's just put it this way. Some of the way they handle certain situations with the media, I'm not a big fan of. Let's just put it that way. But with that being said, why now, during this pandemic, why now, when this season isn't even over with yet, at least the playoffs are going to be starting up hopefully sooner than later, why now are you forcing people to make payments? Is Foley hurting for money? Is the organization hurting for money? And by the way, between Major League Baseball and the NHL, we've learned that there are at least 20 organizations that have done what the LA Lakers have done, and that is gotten loans. Now, whether they paid those loans back, I don't know, but there are 27 organizations, and HBO Real Sports did a story on this, that are not answering the question, did you accept money? They refuse to answer it. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that they probably did. We found out that the Lakers did it. But between the NHL and Major League Baseball, 27 organizations have not refused to answer that question. I have a serious problem with that. And I have a serious problem with Foley and the Vegas Golden Knights organization that are worth boatloads of money, by the way. Boatloads of money. I have a serious problem with them notifying season ticket holders during this pandemic that their next payment would be processed today, and I would assume it was. What do you guys think about that?
I don't have a huge problem with it, Brian.
You don't have a huge problem?
You, Stein?
Well, we're talking about the deferral that they're not allowing people to defer their 2021 season tickets.
Right.
Well, they did allow people to take a break from making payments during the coronavirus. They're monthly. Apparently, you pay monthly, and so they let people take a break because they're unemployed. You can't assume that everyone who goes to a Vegas Golden Knights game is filthy rich. There are people that maybe are struggling, unemployed, that just spend a lot of money on it because they love they love going to the hockey game. So if they could do it for a month or two, why are they not doing it for the deposits on next year? It's like, so I guess in theory, all these people that want to go next year aren't going to be able to because they don't have the means, the money right now. I don't know. It seems a little cold-hearted.
Well, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And I hope the Vegas Golden Knights maybe take a little bit of criticism and give people a few more months, at least until we're in Phase 4. I think it's inappropriate. But
how many employees are furloughed right now on the Golden Knights, Brian?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because one particular professional sports owner, named Ted Leonsis, he owns the Washington Nationals, but he actually decided to not furlough any of his employees, and he's one of the only ones who's done this. And he basically he took the people who were making the most money and he gave them a reduction in what they're getting paid, and he added that money on to those who were getting paid on the bottom spectrum of things, which was very interesting. And it would be nice to see the Vegas Golden Knights do something like that. But I mean, this isn't a huge surprise. They've done this to ticket holders for. I mean, what happened last year? They raised the price on season ticket holders.
I don't like a lot of
they prevented, and then they prevented season ticket holders from selling their tickets.
Yeah,
so
completely ridiculous.
This isn't a massive surprise. And now that the Raiders are here, they sold out in about 2 hours. The home games in about 2 hours. So there's a little bit of competition here, and hopefully UNLV can get better. But yeah, for a couple of years there, the Golden Knights were the only show in town, and that is not going to be the case now with the Raiders.
Competition is fine. I'm all for it.
But they're all competing for the same amount of discretionary income.
I don't like the way the Vegas Golden Knights, the organization, has handled certain situations. I don't think they've handled this situation appropriately. I also don't like the way they've treated season ticket holders. Season ticket holders should be allowed to sell their tickets in any way, shape, or form they want to, whether it is a fan from the other team. Now, I understand the Vegas Golden Knights. It's a private organization. I get it. They could do whatever they want. I understand those are the rules, the laws, and the regulations, but it doesn't make it right. I have a serious problem with what the Knights have done, and I'll tell you something, folks. When and if the Vegas Golden Knights are not a playoff team, and when they're not a good hockey team, and eventually that will happen.
Then we'll see about that. Free agents are going to keep flocking here, assuming that the economy stays the way it is. And when there's no income tax,
and when that does happen, they better not treat people like this, and I don't think they will. And then they'll be begging for people. So I have a serious problem with that. We'll see how they handle this down the road.
We'll see if the fan base can stay active and ferocious and hungry when the Golden Knights are not a playoff
Speaking
team.
of ferocious,
but they make so many moves though. They make so many trades to put themselves in a position to be a winning team, and they're not afraid to make moves that I'm not sure that's going to happen for a while.